Hello everyone, Sorry here, and today we're gonna do the meta talk. We're gonna talk about how the meta is shaping up after the patch 3.16 went out, and what the dominant decks are, which decks fell out. And after that, I'll do a bit of seasonal lineups. I'll talk about a couple of seasonal lineups. I'll put a timestamp if you're interested only about the seasonal lineup. I'll add a timestamp so you can just skip over there. But we'll start with the meta tier list. I keep it regularly updated on Runeterra CCG, and you can check out all the deck lists I'll put a link in the description and you can check all the decks. So starting by the first deck. So before we start, the ranking, just really quickly, we've got tier 1 staple, tier 1 dark horse, tier 2 staple, tier 2 dark horse. Tier 1 and tier 2 are obviously easy to know the difference. Staple means the decks are really popular on the competitive ladder, whereas dark horse, they're competing with the staple, but they aren't very popular as the staple versions. That's pretty much the idea of them in a nutshell. So tier 1 staple, we've got Lee Sin, Twisted Fate, and Nami. Usually it runs 2 Lee Sins, 3 Nami, and 1 Twisted Fate. This has been the most dominant deck so far. It dodged a nerf, which is insane that it dodged a nerf. I really expected the deck to get nerfed. It's good into most of the matchups. It has a really amazing matchup table. So if you're coming to the seasonal lineup, going for the seasonal lineup, I think Nami Lee Sin is a massive consideration, and we'll probably be seeing it a lot in the seasonal tournament. Following up, Twisted Fate Swain. Also, the ranking in the tier 1 doesn't really mean this is better than the other deck, even though Lee Sin, I think, is better than Swain TF. Swain TF gained a lot of popularity. Swain has Overwhelm now, which is why it's very strong. This is the Bilgewater version. There are other versions we'll talk about them soon. Swain TF has a highest play rate on the competitive. It has higher than Nami Lee Sin. Win rate, it's a bit lower, but it's still performing really well right now. Fiora Pantheon, out of nowhere, became very popular. I had it at tier 1 dark horse, but today I changed it to staple because it's now in the top 5 most played decks. It beats Swain TF, which is why it's very popular. And it's not favored to Swain Lee Sin, to Nami Lee Sin, but can kinda maybe hold on until Pantheon does his own thing. But Homecoming is a card. Well, that's pretty much the tier 1 staples. We'll go down to tier 1 dark horse. We've got Nora Swain, which has been increasing in popularity. Might go to staple. It actually might overtake the Bilgewater soon. We'll see. It has the similar play pattern of the Bilgewater. You want to have Swain leveled, you want to have a Leviathan, and you kind of stun lock your opponent. But this version has the value engine. It has Nora, it has pretty much the mysterious portals. Let me see the cards real quick. Yeah, we have Junk Construct as a mysterious portal. We've got Portal Palooza puts mysterious portals. So kinda you have units you can develop on the board. This version beats the Bilgewater. That's why it's popular. It beats the Bilgewater thanks to Minimorph and thanks to Aloof Travelers, which can kick a Leviathan or potentially a Swain out of your opponent's hand. It plays into the value engine, Concologist, Mysterious Portals, Aloof Travelers. So you kind of don't run out of gas very easily. You want to run your opponent out of cards and pretty much still do the Swain lock. Going to Gwen Katarina, dropped a little bit in play rate, but actually dropped a lot in play rate, but its win rate is still actually good, still doing pretty well. Gwen Katarina was hit by the harrowing, but it doesn't really hurt it as much. I think the hate spike hurts it much more. Akshan Lee Sin, it's an Ionia deck, been doing really well. It's only not very popular as the Nami Lee, because Nami Lee is still better. I think if Nami Lee is out of the picture, Akshan Lee takes over. Tier 2 we have Puppy Tarek, which was tier 1 Dark Horse, but with all the Swain decks getting popular, it got kicked out. We've got Karma Yi Go Hard, which is getting popular, I think mostly on the America ladder a lot. It's in control deck. Takes a while to set up everything, but Ionia really strong. Yi fits the deck much more better now because of his permanent mana cost reduction. Caitlyn Swain, also tier 2 staple. It's not as good as the other versions because it's a bit slower at what it does. It wants to set up a Tribeam. The problem with it is if you draw Tribeam late game, it doesn't feel too good. But it's holding on. It's holding on. We have also Nora Heimerdinger, another Nora deck. Nora Veigar and Nora Heimerdinger, both really good decks. Both have a bit of a similar, not really, actually, no, not similar play pattern. With Veigar, you want to buff up the darkness with the Twisted Catalyzer and Veigar, and then you play the Ada. I forgot her name. What's her name? Descend Ada. You want to play Descend Ada, get the darkness out of it, which is 0 mana, and it's an AoE darkness, so you can wipe out the opponent's board and set up a really strong attack. It also has a lot of value engine. Heimerdinger also value engine, but it's a little bit slower. People have been moving away from the 4 mana spell that buffs up the board, and now they're running the 7 mana spell that puts a lot of mushrooms and portals and stuff like that to kind of win the late game. Leona Aurelion Sol is popularity, hovering around 50% win rate, 51%. It's doing okay, but I'm not sure if it's gonna stay staple. It's probably gonna fall out after the hype dies around it. Gangplank Sejuani, people are trying to keep this deck relevant. It's not really doing well, I think. It loses to Swain, loses to Nami. I'm not sure it's gonna stay in the meta for too long. Maybe drops to Dark Horse, but I think it's gonna end up getting kicked out. At least Nocturne Fearsome is pretty much the best performing aggro deck right now, which is kind of sad since it's not really performing that well. It's a Fearsome deck, uses Nocturne as its win condition, wants to buff up, weaken the opponent's board and go for a really strong swing. These versions don't really run burn, at least most of them. Let me see the list I have here. Yeah, it doesn't have burn. It has a harrowing, and you kind of rely on that as a win condition. The only problem is Ionia is very popular and they can shut you down. Gwen Seju still doing Gwen Seju stuff with the Ovoam keyword and the Hallowed keyword. Canon Ezreal took a rough punch, a rough hit, and fell from tier. I think I had it at tier 2 staple and it dropped down to Dark Horse, but the deck was a tier 1 in a tournament setting. Feel the Rush does Feel the Rush stuff. It got a bit popular because of Swain, because Feel the Rush beats Swain. Zoe Kane, yeah, doesn't really exist much anymore. This will probably get removed soon. This was the biggest hit on Pirate Aggro, Misfortune, Twisted Fate. Fell from tier 1, one of the most popular, if not the most popular, I think. I think it has had the highest play rate and good win rate. Now it's tier 2 Dark Horse, struggling to stay on the tier list. Scouts got dropped from tier 1 Dark Horse because Swain got popular and it beats it down. Jax Vi struggling to stay on the tier list, same because of the Timelines nerf. Although the Timelines nerf isn't too huge for the deck, but it does slow it down, and like the deck is already struggling to stay at 50%. Akshan Kane, it's okay, but now it's overtaken. There is no reason to play Akshan Kane over Akshan Pantheon. That's pretty much, that's the sad reality. There's no reason to play this over Akshan Pantheon, which has a stronger win rate, with a stronger win condition with Pantheon. We have Evelyn Viego, Also tier 1 dropped to tier 2, took a really strong hit with the Viego nerf, which I never expected. I really did not expect Viego to get nerfed. I think Viego paid for the sins of Evelyn, which is kind of unfortunate. The Mono Shurima got really hit, which is, I still have it on the list, but it will probably end up being removed. Kindred Nasus also got hit with the Timelines nerf, not Timeline, Hate Spike nerf, and the Rite of Calling nerf. So those were, it kind of slows down the deck, and these decks are already kind of struggling to stay in the meta, right? Trundle Timelines also got hit with the Timelines nerf, but I saw Broken Ball try to bring it to a tournament, and he did well, but he said he wasn't happy with it. So I'm not sure if it's I think it stays at tier 2, but like I don't think it will climb back to tier 1 anytime soon. Anigen stays in tier 2 really low. Katarina Yasuo still there, but really low play rate and win rate. Isn't really doing very well. Azira Aurelia is I feel like it's the only combo-ish deck, aggro combo-ish deck we still have that might, like, you think about it, Azira Aurelia should be beating Nami, but it's not, which is kind of unfortunate for the deck not to beat it. Yeah, not very popular at all. Akshan Pantheon is gaining popularity. It might go up soon. I will probably raise it. It has a 54% win rate, so it's really high on win rate. So I think it might go up to staple very, very soon, maybe in the next couple of days. Darkness also doing okay, but the Nora Veigar is taking over. But in a tournament setting, you might go Darkness. It has a good win rate, it has positive win rate. It beats Swain, which is why it's good. Kaisa is not really performing well. Heimerdinger Jace, which is, I think it's a really good deck right now. It beats Swain, which is why it's popular. It has a 54% win rate. So also Heimer Jace, I think we will see it in the tournament a lot. And it's probably gonna go up to staple if it continues doing well. And its play rate goes up. Its play rate is still low, but win rate is good. Deep does deep stuff, nothing really to comment on it. Viego Shurima might get removed from the tier list if I'm not sure. I'll keep looking at the stats and see if it stays. Nami TF aside, there's literally, I think there's no reason, even though this is one of the best decks in the game, and it's really high skill intensive, it's rewarding, but I don't think there's a reason to play this deck over the Ionia version, which is very, very much very consistent and much better. Especially that you can just deny harrowing, which the Asai version relies on. Sundisk barely holding. I think it's 48% win rate, 49% win rate. Lurk, it got tiny buff maybe. I don't know if you consider it a buff, but Lurk isn't doing that well. It gets beaten by Swain. I think it doesn't even beat Nami, so there is literally no reason to play Lurk. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the meta tier list. I'll have all the deck codes in the description. I'll have the link for this page. And we'll talk about the seasonal lineups now. Alright, let's talk seasonals tournament. If you're going to the seasonal tournament, I think you should set up a plan on which 3 decks you want to play. You don't want to bring just random decks. I think the biggest plan is to bring decks you're comfortable on. Having decks that are good for certain matchups is really good, really amazing. But if you're misplaying on those decks a lot, you're not gonna get the value you want. Bring 3 decks you're comfortable on, but try to have them synergize with one another. Right now, we have Nami Lee Sin as one of the popular decks right now. I think you should try and target one of the popular decks. We've got Nami Lee Sin, we've got Swain decks, we've got Asai decks, and we've got Fiora Pantheon. Fiora Pantheon has been gaining a lot of popularity. We might see it a lot in the seasonal tournament, but I don't think you should counter Nami decks. Nami is way too strong. The matchup table is insane. I don't think I've ever seen a matchup table as strong as Nami Lee Sin ever. So I don't think you should counter it. I'll give you a lineup that can potentially do okay into it, but I don't recommend it. But if you're into that, if you're into struggling the whole 9 rounds, I'll give a lineup that's kind of okay, but it's not that efficient into it. We'll start with my lineup. My lineup will potentially be, I might change it, but so far my lineup is Nami, Twisted Fate, Lee Sin, which is obvious. It's one of the best decks right now. I think everyone should bring it. It's gonna be auto banned most likely. This is an auto ban deck, and you play your other 2 decks. My second deck will be Nora Swain, which my lineup is trying to counter the Bilgewater version, the Swain Bilgewater. At the same time, I don't auto lose to Demacia decks like Fiora Pantheon. I struggle into it a little bit, but I don't auto lose to it. And I don't lose to Poppy Tarek and Scouts. I think Nami will struggle into them, but I don't think she can kind of put up a fight. And my third deck is Fiora Pantheon. Fiora Pantheon has been putting numbers. It's doing well. The matchup table is good. It beats Swain decks. It does well into Asai decks. And it only really loses to Nami, which I'm gonna ban. Nami is always a ban for me. If they don't bring Nami, for example, and they bring Akshan Lee, that's getting banned. But yeah, most likely Nami banned, which I will probably be seeing the whole 9 rounds, to be honest. Now, I'll give other decks, other lineups that can beat, for example, Swain, if you're targeting that, which is a good consideration to target Swain. You could bring, for example, Heimerdinger, Nora, which is an Asai deck that beats Swain, and you have to pair it with Nami, I think. And then you could bring something like maybe a Karma Yi. We had a Karma Yi here somewhere. There she is. So you're kind of targeting the Swain decks and trying to beat them. These decks do well into them, the Asai decks, because of Vengeance. It's really strong. Also, Heimerdinger Nora also can run Minimorph, which also acts as an answer, right? Another lineup that does well into Swain is Triple Ionia. Triple Ionia, you would have, which is kind of popular. I think Simon brought Triple Ionia, and he got top 8 in Mastering Runeterra, which is a good position to get in a huge tournament. He brought Nami Twisted Fate, no Lee Sin, only Nami TF. I need to change the title here and add Lee Sin. But yeah, Nami TF, Akshan Lee Sin. So he took out the Lee Sin from the Nami and added an Akshan Lee Sin. And his third deck was Canon Israel, which is still a good deck in a tournament, because you're trying to beat decks that struggle into Israel Canon. I'm not sure if they're still running the Sanin, so you might want to double check and see if you have to cut this out, because this got nerfed. You could go maybe for more deep meds if something. If you're not very confident on Israel Canon, you could go Karma Master Yi. Also keeps the Triple Ionia lineup, and it beats Swain decks. But I think you still have to ban Nami with this lineup, because it still struggles into Nami. Another lineup you could bring. Do you want me to talk about the Nami lineup that counters Nami? Poppy Tarek, which just beat Nami. Scouts, which does beat Nami. But I couldn't find a good, reliable third deck that beats Nami. There just isn't. A reliable deck that beats Nami just doesn't exist. Even those 2 decks, the Poppy Tarek and Quinn, also still struggle into Nami. So you would have to pair them with a Nami deck. So you go for the 50-50 win condition, and from there you just hope you can outplay your opponent or draw better. So that's pretty much a lineup to beat Nami, which isn't very reliable, but it is what it is. Another lineup you could bring is the double Asai plus Nami. So basically, I think in all your lineups there should be a Nami. So you bring Nami, and you bring something like Heimerdinger, not Nora, you bring Heimerdinger Jace, which has been gaining really popularity a lot, which we'll probably be seeing on ladder and on the seasonal. And you match it with Nora Vigor. You could bring Field Rush, but I don't like Field Rush too much because Field Rush depends a lot on Atrocity. It depends a lot on Field Rush as a card, and there's a lot of players that might bring double Ionia or triple Ionia, and you don't want to face that, right? So these feel better into Ionia and still have a shot to beat Ionia decks. They can beat Lee Sin. Like this has Minimorph, deals with Lee Sin. You could, if you want, add Vengeance as well. Kind of tweak with the list. Don't always take the same list I'm showing. Tweak with them depending on the matchups you want to beat. This, for example, runs 3 Vengeance. Also can deal with Ionia. Deny is annoying. That's why Minimorph is better here with Nora, Veigar. And Nami can deal with Akshamli, for example, or Karma Mastery. So this is also a lineup. Papi, Taric, and Scouts can also beat Asai. So if you're also trying to counter Asai, these also are good considerations along with Nami. It doesn't necessarily need to beat Nami decks. So it's not a bad lineup. It's a really strong lineup. Just struggles into Nami. It has an edge into Nami. But yeah, these are 3 lineups that are considerations. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna bring Nami, Nora Swain, and Fiora Pantheon. Another lineup I want to talk about real quick, which won the Mastering Runeterra tournament, is Nami, Lee Twisted Fate. This one first place. So if you want to, you can play it. Nami, Twisted Fate, Lee Sin, Karma, Master Yi, and they brought Gwen. We don't have it here. Gwen Katarina. There, this. They brought Gwen Katarina, which does well into Swain decks. This lineup does well into Swain decks because they don't really have an answer to Harrowing. So you're trying to beat them. And this also doesn't, I mean, it does kind of struggle into Demacia decks. But yeah, it focuses on beating Swain decks. Another lineup that got 2nd place is Nami Lee Sin without the Twisted Fate. So we cut Twisted Fate entirely just for Nami Lee. And Swain TF, the Bilgewater version. And Misfortune Quinn Scouts. This got 2nd place in the tournament. A Mastery Runeterra tournament. I'm not sure what exactly it wants to target, but I think I'm actually not sure what exactly it wants to target. But it is a lineup. I'll need to look at the stats and figure out what decks it actually beats. 3rd place for Broken Ball. He brought Jace Heimerdinger, Trundle Vi, which is Timeline's deck, and Swain Nora. This lineup wants to beat Demacia, and it wants to beat Swain Bilgewater. I was talking to Broken Ball. He said the lineup did well. He wasn't too happy with the timelines though, although it did its job, but he wasn't too happy with it. So yeah, that's pretty much different lineups that had success, made top 3. You could be a consideration if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Good luck in your seasonals. Bring comfortable decks you're comfy on at the end of the day. Don't play, or at least practice the decks you want to play, you want to bring to the tournament. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.